Hi, I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream. Today, a look at the refugee crisis. First, we'll speak to the UNHCR chief spokesperson, and then we'll meet people who have opened their doors to Syrian refugees. Stay with us. With us today, Melissa Fleming, Chief of Communications and Spokesperson at UNHCR, that's United Nations Refugee Agency. She joins us from Crete in Greece. Melissa, great to have you back with us. Often, when you're with us on the stream, it's not necessarily good news, but we have a lot of things that people want to talk to you about. Malika Bilal, you know all about that, our digital producer. What should we start with?
Well, let's just jump right in. So, Femi, of course, as you know, there have been a few Syrian towns in the news recently, and one of them was Madaya, and that's where we heard reports of people starving. And Melissa, I know you know this well. You tweeted just a few days ago with your colleagues there telling some of those stories. So we got a question via Facebook. This is Lujamba who sends this to you, saying, concerning the besieged towns in Syria, which just recently received aid supplies, is it possible that the fighting could stop the incoming aid and starve the people yet again? Is this just a band-aid solution, Melissa?
Oh, yeah. I mean, really, these are all Band-Aid solutions. I mean, we're calling for a ceasefire all across Syria so that we can reach 400,000 people who are in these really tightly besieged areas where we haven't been able to get aid in at all, or only now and then. And then the aid that we deliver lasts 1 month, and then we start the approval process over again, with whichever party is doing the besieging. So yes, it's a Band-Aid solution, and it's it's frustrating for us. It's not new. We were really glad that those photos came out, because all of a sudden the world woke up and said, oh my God, people are at the brink of starvation in Syria. There are children who are suffering, people who are, resorting to eating, weeds and grass and leaves. So, yes, the world has woken up. Even the powers, it went to the UN and it was discussed there. So hopefully now, this is a turning point. Hopefully now we can use this momentum and this exposure and this caring of the global public to mobilize the powers that have influence to say, let's put a stop to it. At least let the humanitarian actors in, so that the civilians that are caught up in this war of no fault to themselves can survive.
See, Melissa, I'm curious about what's going on behind the scenes. You must be fiercely negotiating with both parties in Syria to try and get aid through. And then I'm hearing facts like bags of rice are costing $300. How is that even possible? Can you give us some insight into the stories that we don't hear? And then suddenly we see pictures of people starving in places like Madaya.
Yeah, well, of course, when everything gets squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and there's just so little, then the price, you have a war economy, and the prices just go skyrocket. I mean, people are selling everything they own. Somebody told us they were selling, their motorcycle for 5 kilos of rice. So yeah, prices, food is beyond what people can afford. And, they're having to resort to all kinds of means to survive, and some of them are at the brink of not surviving, completely dependent on humanitarian aid, and then humanitarian actors not being able to reach them. This is not right. It's a tactic that is against international humanitarian law if it's used as a war tactic. And we're just hoping that now is the turning point. Now it will come to an end. Now we have the momentum. We can now reach these people.
And Melissa, we know that, of course, conditions are only made worse by the season that we're in, winter. And so we got a video comment from someone named Rowan. I want you to have a listen to him.
The Calais refugee camp is home to over 6,000 people, genuine refugees who are fleeing political and religious persecution and war, who live in small tents or makeshift shelters built by themselves or volunteers. But winter is biting, temperatures are dropping, winds are increasing, and this week local authorities are due to demolish about 1/3 of the camp as they strive to make a buffer zone around the camp.
Yeah, well, the conditions in Calais are abysmal. And the conditions this is in the middle of Europe. These are people who actually would like to reach the UK. They're people who are determined to reach the UK. It's not possible. We still have to think about their humanity. We have a situation in Europe where individual countries are making individual decisions about their borders, about their asylum policies, about who they let in, who they don't. And this is exposing a European Union that is not a union in this sense. It's not united when it comes to refugee policy. And so we have a fractured Europe. We have countries erecting fences. We have this Calais situation where people are living in squalor. We have other countries like Germany, like Sweden, like Austria that have been welcoming, but also where now the fear, the xenophobia is taking over. So
Sure.
yes, the situation in Europe is I'm afraid, especially in the winter right now, it's really tough.
Let me bring in some people who are actually helping with this situation. Let me introduce you to Alexander, Andrew and Mohammed. So in Berlin we have Alexander Dettke. He's hosting Mohamad Bahry in his home with other flatmates. Now Mohammed is a Syrian refugee and a law student from Aleppo. So Alex and Mohammed, hello.
Hi there.
Hey, Alex, what do you think of your flatmate?
He's a really great guy. I'm happy he's here. We just ate dinner together and it was really, really delicious.
Very nice. You're making me jealous. Mohammed, what do you think of your flatmate?
He's a great person.
Very nice. I'm going to leave it there for a moment because I also want to introduce you in Toronto, Canada, to Andrew FitzGerald. He's co-founder and chair of the Ripple Refugee Project, a group of concerned citizens trying to help with the refugee crisis. And Andrew and his organisation are privately sponsoring a family of 8 from Syria as they transition to their new lives in Canada. So Andrew, you must have been seeing and hearing the sort of things that Melissa's been talking about. And at what point did you say, this is not good enough, I need to help? What happened? What was that point? What did you see? What did you hear?
Sure. It was about a year ago. We were, my wife and I were hearing lots of stories in the media about Syrian and other Middle Eastern refugees drowning in the Mediterranean, but also the Rohingya in Burma, who were forced to flee due to ethnic discrimination and denied access to landing opportunities in Malaysia. And reading these stories and becoming increasingly frustrated with what was happening and with, at that time, our government's lack of response to these crises.
Yeah. And then you got a bunch of friends together and you decided to do something about it. How did that happen?
Yeah, that's right. So I learned through people in the immigration business that there are opportunities in Canada for private citizens to get together and sponsor refugees. And so we held an information session in our home. We invited friends and colleagues and neighbors. And out of that information session with some invited speakers, we formed a group of 17 people. These are private citizens from a variety of walks of life who were interested in contributing and sponsoring a Syrian family or other refugees to come to Canada.
And I actually love hearing stories like yours because it really gives me so much hope personally, and stories like this on Twitter. So this one is from Anna, who also hosted a family, and she writes, I met the family in Berlin. I remembered my own history as a survivor of the Rwandan genocide, and I had to take them in. If people are in need and you can help, you should. It was a wonderful experience, and they're now living in a hostel in Berlin. So Alex, hearing your story also is one of those that I hear it and I love it. What made you decide to just take it upon yourself as an individual to open up your home?
That's easy for us. We really wanted to do something. I don't like to call it crisis because it's just people that need help. And we thought, okay, how can we do actually help? And the best way for us was we live here, 3 people, and we have a spare room. So we take someone in, and for us it's important that we have this integration process going, because as you see now, probably we talk about it later a little bit in Cologne, things happening that are not so nice. I think it's a deficit of the integration, and we need to make sure that we're strong on that, and we could help right away, and that was the best decision we could take, and it's actually really easy and easy going also to help in that kind of way.
Have a look here at my laptop. This is the rest of the flatmates in the kitchen. I recognise the kitchen actually in the background, Mohammed, there. For you, what was the hardest thing coming from Aleppo and then moving in with German students? What was the hardest thing for you to get used to?
Was it hard?
I think it's not was hard. Like I was living also with flatmate in Syria and for my uni, and I know how they living. And here I think they was the same. So it's not hard for me.
Okay, yeah. All right, I like that. Going back to Andrew here, I'm looking here at the family that you and your friends you adopted, and you had to register them. I mean, there's a whole process of assimilation that you have to go through, and sometimes there are cultural differences. They do pop up. They might not be difficulties, but they're definitely differences. Can you tell us a story from this sort of registration process that actually pointed out those cultural differences?
Yeah, we had one experience where they were registering with a local health organization, and in order to participate they needed to fill out forms. So I was working with them on these forms, and in the questions of gender and sexual orientation, as I was filling in these forms, there were 7 options, 7 choices that people could choose from. Wow. In selecting what gender they were and what their sexual orientation were. And, you know, this was an opportunity for me to talk with the family about how in Canadian society, multiple gender views are completely respected and acceptable, and multiple sexuality, different perspectives on sexuality. So it was a good learning opportunity for the family. I think it struck them as a little odd, and yet they were very open to it, and were highlighting that, you know, people can be the way they want to be, that they respect differences as maybe not for themselves, but other people have their way of going about life, and they were comfortable with that.
And Femi, another one of those cultural differences, of course, is language. So we got a video comment from Teresa, and I'll play this for you, Mohammed and Alex, and you can let me know what you think.
Our inspiration was that we could be of immediate help. Somebody needed a place to stay. We had a spare room, so we just offered it. And also the reaction of the community was nice. Everybody helped with donations and brought stuff, and we had a big barbecue. We also found people that helped translating into Arabic, because Google Translate is actually really bad at that.
So Mohammed, Alex, Google Translate doesn't always work. Have you found difficulties in making yourselves understood?
I think for me it's not, because we speak now by English, and it's not hard to community together. What else?
See, this is the real test, isn't it? On Al Jazeera around the world, having a live conversation, that's really tricky. And also you're having it not in Arabic, not in German, but in English. So kudos to both of you. And Melissa, as you're listening into this, what do you want to ask either Alex or Andrew or Mohammed? Because this is the upside of what you've been talking about, right?
I just want to congratulate all of them, because I think this is the thing that I've seen. You know, we talk a lot about statistics and mass numbers of arrivals in Europe and hundreds of thousands and record. And the thing is that, and then there's a lot of fear and xenophobia. So I think what you're experiencing right now is if you knew them, and that's what we're seeing through these individual programs. This is what I'm seeing that's warming my heart in Europe and in Canada. The individual outreach of civil society is so strong, showing so much compassion, whether it's volunteer movement going out to train stations, whether it's the refugee welcome program of bringing people into your own home, individual refugees, like the case with Mohammed, and also sponsoring families. These links that are forged, of course the cultures are completely different, but that's what makes societies special and enriches societies. I mean, Canada is vibrant, Toronto is vibrant because it's multicultural. And I think that if we see the opportunities refugees bring, not only that you're actually providing such a significant help to an individual human being or a family who is fleeing a war zone, but also you have a chance to learn yourself, enrich yourself, feel good about yourself, and help with the integration and the future for your own society. I think it's beautiful. So congratulations to all of you for what you're doing.
Yeah, Alex.
I'd just like to add. I'd just like to add to that, if I might. You know, Melissa, I think it's so true. And as you sit across with the family and you talk with them about their hopes for their children, about their schooling opportunities, about plans for work and the need for dental care and all the kind of almost mundane aspects of our lives, you start to realize there's so much in terms of a shared humanity with these people. And the differences that we do have from a cultural perspective very quickly kind of drop away as you share that meal and you talk about the basic requirements that we all have.
Alex, what were you going to say? Yeah, go ahead.
I want to add something to that. For us, it's also very important since we're young Germans, and Mona, our flatmate, she said that this is something how we can also make our future. For us, it is very important to also show that this is possible to behave in such a way, because we're building what we're living in the later days. And right now I'm really happy that Germany is behaving the way it is, and also giving the opportunity for someone who's coming from far, far away, still giving him the money to live here, opportunity to learn German and to start studying again, which is, I think this is already incredible. I think with what we do now, we can build on that and probably make the whole world a better place, although this is really small steps on a bigger road.
Just to add a little bit to that, the student-to-student thing, I think one of the things UNHCR is advocating for are more opportunities for students. We see so often, one of the saddest things is to see refugee students who are just about to go to university and then have just been ripped from their university and thrown into a refugee situation where not only have they lost their community, their hope, but they feel like they've really lost their future. So the idea that maybe universities could offer more student visas in order to allow the refugee students to come legally and to study, this would be a really powerful thing. And I'm sure those students would not only contribute to the societies they're living in, but they'd probably also, when it's safe enough to return, go back and help in the reconciliation and rebuilding of their countries. So it would be a kind of double win contribution to the world. So yeah, just wanted to add that.
Alex, you know, even with all of the positive stories that you all are sharing with us, we see views like this on Twitter. This is Dr. Muma, who says, taking in new people in Europe will be long-term trouble. You can already see what happened in Cologne, and that's, of course, the attacks that we saw not too long ago in Cologne. So how is that affecting you, affecting your relationships? What are you thinking about that?
This is a really big problem in Germany right now, and of course we experience discussions on, personally for me, on Facebook with other friends or people I know that are afraid now. But I think we have to be clear that what happened in Cologne is probably not due to refugees that are coming right now. That doesn't make too much sense. It's probably more a problem of integration from the past. And we did some things in Germany where I think we took a wrong step, like our education system, and we split classes also. We had only foreign classes, and then we have a 3-level school education. And if you're on the lowest level of the education and you're among people that don't speak the language, you don't really have a perspective to live in this society. And I think that's where we get a problem. But we can learn from this. And I think when we look at Köln, we have to really analyze in a natural way. Don't put it too positive or too negative, but really focus on the main problem and see how we can do it better. And I think integration is always a really good way. And the German society needs integration as well. Of course, we have to be careful, and we can't be blind, but there's no need to be so afraid as we see it in some German media.
Melissa, you shared a picture with us, and this is you in Crete with a young lady, a young woman. Why is this story so important to you? Tell us this story.
Yes, well, this is Doa Al-Zamal, and she is the survivor of one of the worst shipwrecks on the Mediterranean Sea. It was about a year and a half ago. 500 people died. The boat was deliberately rammed. These were refugees from Syria, from Iraq, some from Africa. And she was with her fiancé. They were about to go and start a new life in Sweden, and found herself in the water that terrified her so much. And her fiancé, the love of her life, died before her eyes. At one point in the water, she had 3 small children on top of her, who were entrusted to her by parents who also couldn't live anymore and ended up drowning before her eyes. And in the end, after 4 days on the water, sitting on a little child's ring, she was finally rescued. She was one of only 11 survivors, and she managed to save a little 18-month-old baby. So she is a survivor, a hero. It's a remarkable story. I told her story on the TED stage. I'm now writing a book about her story. She comes from Dara, where the Syria war began. She was a refugee with her family for many years in Egypt. They did the whole ugly smuggler deal, and had a horrific experience on the Mediterranean Sea. Her story tells the story of millions. People respond to individual stories. This is why I'm telling hers. Right. But also, she's a remarkable person, surviving things like most refugees that we can't even imagine going through.
See, Melissa, you're making us all cry back here. Thanks for that.
I know.
But that's the whole point. I mean, that's what you're saying, really, isn't it? That we should be crying. I want to show you a picture here, Andrew. This is a reception committee for the Syrian family who you and your friends have been sponsoring. This is the family here. You and Alex seem like remarkable people. What is it that you have that you can share with the rest of us? Because it may be that the way to make refugees feel more welcome is to do exactly what you did and what Alex is doing. How do we do that?
Well, I think very much what Melissa mentioned, putting a human face on the crisis, if you will, is very important. It's the personal stories, the photograph, for example, the tragic photograph of the little boy, Alan Kurdi, really galvanized Canada to do more. And people across the country have joined together in private citizens groups to sponsor people, really largely as a result of that single photograph. It's really quite amazing the impact that this had. And I think these personal stories are so important. And also, they allow people to get away from the sheer magnitude of the problem, which can be paralyzing. And they can encourage people to address this or to approach this on a person-by-person or a family-by-family basis. We can't save everybody, unfortunately, but we could save a family. We could save an individual. And how meaningful even that one person, that one family, how meaningful that is.
Malika.
Well, I'll close with this tweet because this is a person who's heard your stories and is really inspired by it. Apurva says, it's inspirational to see these examples of civil society stepping in to help, and therefore more media focus is needed on these grassroots efforts like yours, Alex, and like yours, Andrew. Let
me show you a couple of things.
I would like to...
Yeah, go ahead, Alex, go ahead.
You said that this is remarkable.
Yes.
Thank you for that, but I really don't feel like being remarkable, and I want to be remarkable because I think a lot of Germans actually do the same thing as we do, and I think it's also natural. And it should be natural. It's our natural understanding to help each other. And I think that's the very first argument in this whole situation. And we need to make sure that the people that are afraid and this angst standing in the way, we need to make sure that this goes away somehow and we show these positive examples.
Okay. Alex, I've just got a few seconds to tell everybody how they can help as well. Alex is part of the Refugees Welcome program, so that is spread around different parts around the world, so you can look at that one, particularly in Germany. The Ripple Refugee Project is Andrew's project. And then if you really can't find anywhere else to help, go to UNHCR, and they have a donation program as well for refugees around the world. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Hello again. We're chatting with the UNHCR's Melissa Fleming, also joined by Alexander, who opened up his flat to Mohamad in Berlin, Germany, with his other flatmates, and Andrew FitzGerald, who works on privately sponsoring refugees in Canada. Good to have you here. I've got a little bit more time. So Malika and I have been asking you questions, but you might want to ask each other questions. Andrew, you get started.
Sure. I have a question, I guess, for Melissa. Certainly in Canada, the focus in the refugee area has been almost exclusively now captured by the Syrian crisis. And I'm just wondering, do you have concerns that the world is really just paying attention to the Syrian crisis and perhaps other refugee crises in, Eritrea or Burma or other places may not get the resources or the attention that they deserve?
Yes and no. I mean, finally, when the refugee crisis went to the rich world, the world started paying attention to refugees. Okay, first and foremost, it's the Syrians, but now everybody's talking about refugees. We're on this show because people are interested in refugees. We've been saying, crying in the dark for years, and there was very little interest. So yes, while there's more interest right now in Syrians, we're hoping that this will bring up the general global interest in refugees. It will educate people as to why people have to flee, why programs, resettlement are extremely transformative, family sponsorship, etc. So yes, thanks for that question. We're really hopeful that our budgetary problems and our ability to help all the people in need will be lessened because there is so much interest right now.
See, Andrew, I really like that question too, because I was looking at the UNHCR website. Have a look back here, everybody, with me. And on this section here, this is the emergency section. So we've got emergency Yemen. Let me click through. Emergency Syria, obviously. Emergency South Sudan. Emergency Europe, and then of course here the winter crisis appeal as well. So much all going on at the same time. Alex and Mohammed, what advice would you give to other people who either who are refugees going to live in a flat, Mohammed, or people who are going to give people space in their flat? Mohammed, you start. What's the best advice you could give?
I would like to tell you, I like too much this idea, and I would to German people help more the Syrian people here and host them and take care more because now we need help, really. In this moment, we need help. In the future, we will help.
You will give something back.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Alex, for you, I'm just looking here. I'm distracted by all the pictures you're sending us. This one is Mohammed's birthday party. Mohammed, do you remember that?
Yeah, that's right.
Everything happens around that table. I love that table. Okay, all right. So we have the birthday party here. How easy is it to make someone feel at home, Alex? Because you've obviously got the knack. How did you do that?
Oh, that's Mona. She's really good on making everything but really, really beautiful. For us three, when Mohamad came, the most important thing was to have dinners at night. So we all work and we meet at night. We talk about our days, and this is kind of a small family thing. And my advice to people who think about helping and they don't know how, just do it. Try to find, even on refugees, Flüchtlinge, you can attend, even you don't have a flat, because you still can help, and you can go with people to the Amt, because there's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done, and we need a lot of people also going into that progress. So that's a good way to help. You don't need to spend all your lifetime, just a couple hours, and that's already really great.
Are you stuck with Mohammed forever? Is he ever going to move out? Is that a friend for life?
Yeah, I mean, we will see. He's going to study eventually.
Yeah. He's studying law, so he's going to pay you back big time. Lawyers make a lot of money. Mohammed's like, it's okay, I got this. Andrew, for you, your family, how are they doing?
Yeah, it's going very well. They've been here about a month now. There are 8 of them, a couple of little children, some adult sons, and then a pair of grandparents. They've got almost everything sorted out from a sort of administrative point of view: health checks, dentists, education, housing. And now our interactions with them are very much moving into kind of purely fun, recreational, hanging out, showing them different parts of Toronto, getting them familiar with Canadian society and how things operate here. And it's been a lot of fun. They're really down to earth, welcoming, very warm and tight-knit family, but they've talked about how our settlement team is now part of their family. And, you know, at the time I was thinking, well, you're going to need a bigger dining room table because there's 17 of us who have just joined your family. But it really feels that way.
Beautiful. Melissa, let's look ahead to this year. How prepared are you for what might happen this year with refugees, not just coming out of Syria, but around the world? Are you ready for 2016?
Well, you know, every year we seem to announce bigger and bigger numbers of people on the move. Last year we announced 60 million, and the year before it was 50 million. So I really hope, but I have to say all signs are pointing towards announcing, again, record numbers of people on the move, again, record needs. We're making a huge push, and I think actually what's really positive is that the international global community of governments, and those are our biggest funders, those are the countries who can resettle people, they are mobilizing in a number of conferences, either financial donor conferences or even there's one coming up in March where countries are going to be asked to actually pledge resettlement places for Syrian refugees, and hopefully there'll be massive numbers, at least much more than we have right now. So, you know, while we're worried that things are not going to get better because the wars show no sign of ending and people are still on the move, we do see a lot of momentum in either civil society trying to help or governments saying, okay, we have to do much more.
I could talk to you all day, but I have to wrap up. No, hold on 1 second. Sorry, Malika, hold tight for a second. Alex put his finger up there. Alex, what's going on? What do you want to add before we go?
I would like to know from Melissa, what do you think can we do, like the regular people, to prevent this whole refugee movement? What is our responsibility in this whole situation?
Yeah, do you mean to try to, I think there needs to be a peace movement again. I mean, we have wars that the governments, who are influential governments, are not able to end. So I think really to look at the root causes, what is driving Mohammed to come to Germany and all of his, you know, this Syrian war is in its 5th year, and it's, you know, we saw the Madaya photos and everything, people are suffering even more. So we need a peace movement. Then we need to have much more financing to my organization and the World Food Program and UNICEF and all the organizations that are trying to help refugees in the areas that are closest to home, so people don't feel compelled to have to keep moving and moving and moving. And then, you know, if they do come, do what you're doing. Welcome refugees, and then, you know, the world will be a better place.
Malika.
Oh, Melissa, I'm actually glad that you answered that, and I'm glad that you asked it, Alex, because that's exactly the tweet I was going to read from Sharifa, who wanted to know the same thing. So, of course, you and her are not alone in wanting that, and I think we heard the answer beautifully from Melissa.
So I'm going to thank all of our guests via their various different websites. So have a look here. The Ripple Refugee Project, that's part of Andrew's organisation. So Andrew, thank you for telling us more about that and your stories and your friends' stories. Refugee Welcome is how Mohammed met Alex. Sounds like a movie, actually. I feel like you two might actually be part of a movie in the future. Alex and Mohammed, thank you very much for being part of our programme. And if you want to find out more about how to host a refugee, this might be a good place to start. And then Melissa Fleming is a spokesperson for UNHCR. And have a look at the Warm Their Hearts donation campaign that's online here if you feel you've watched this programme and you need to do something. I know you do. All right, thank you very much, everybody. It's been a pleasure having you on the stream today. Take care. Good luck.